that was just part of what I did every morning.
Yeah.
And then the, Victoria Moran's program and going through and knowing I wanted to, not necessarily just be like a vegan coach and educator, but trying to figure out where that connection between yoga and veganism was for me. And it was in a meditation where I was meditating and just something popped into my head and said, yogasvegan.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. I went, so I looked it up and it was available. I was like, I'm going to take it. Like, there it is.
Yeah.
And so I just started with this idea of like, I have some to say, but I really believe that just like when it comes to going vegan, without their yoga practice, everybody has a special story to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every single person in one way is an inspiration for another.
Yeah.
And that if I could unite as many vegan yogis as I could and allow each of them a platform to speak, then they could become that help or that story that somebody who's not quite there yet can connect to. So that's where that big idea kind of
and it's really amazing, because I also feel like when I started, like kind of when I discovered you, and I'm still, of course, I follow you a lot. I mean, I really love your blog. I always check, your Instagram posts. It's all amazing. And I'm always amazed how many people you find. There is, so many people on your blog website.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even put the word out that much anymore. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Like when I try, it's really been easy. It's very rare somebody says no.
Because do people reach you? Do you reach them? Like, is it sort of like, or is it both?
Yeah. It's the idea was like, if everyone, like, how could I get the word out?
Yeah.
About this website? Like, so if everybody is posting their story, then they're going to share it. Mm-hmm. So then it spreads through their community as well.
Yeah.
And so some people come to me, the other thing I found really important is I don't like to sit there and post about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I hate doing that. In fact, if you look at my own personal Instagram, you'll see I don't post very often because I'm just like, blah, 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 me, whatever. But when you're lifting somebody else up, it's really fun.
Yeah. Well, and what you're saying as well, you are the instrument that is bringing all these people together. So I think that is you really created this platform, and you're just the person who's in between and creating these links. And I think that's the power the power of what you're doing, really, being a good connector.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And then that's when the podcast started in May, which as you're understanding, I mean, they take a lot of time.
Yes.
It's crazy. But it's becoming such a force because, when somebody writes a blog post, there's a lot of, people don't necessarily have enough time to read a lot of a blog anymore. Like everybody's all over the place, but getting kind of into these long form or deep conversations with people really brings out an added element of magic.
Because do you listen to podcasts yourself? Like, are you a person who enjoys podcasts?
Love podcasts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what do you think is so great about podcasts?
I think that it's where you can get, not necessarily always, but the truth.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a platform, and not all, because there are some that are overly produced. There are some that are dependent on their advertisers, right? And that's when, like in media, things get a little distorted, and there is just, when too much money is at hand, sometimes the message is skewed based on paying for, the content.
Yeah.
But with podcasts, opened up this forum and dialogue of like real true speech that isn't being edited. You can find that a lot in books too. It's like you have to really go in a little deeper for better information. I mean, I remember back in, because I started working with the internet, and I have a digital advertising company as well that I started many years ago. But I remember when it was new and you would Google something and you could get like this great information. And now it's harder to find. It's just harder to find information that hasn't been put up by someone paying for it or pushed, out of the way. But I feel like in podcasts, you still have that element of freedom. And that's why I love it so much.
Totally. No, I think, and also there's something, what I love about this as well so much is like, we're all on social media, we're all, times have changed so much, but podcast really takes you back to the radio times, I find it very old fashioned, just like to just listen, like that's so beautiful,
It's really nice.
Yeah.
And plus I have a lot of time up until this week. So my oldest daughter, who is now 16, got her license.
Whoa.
Yesterday. I know.
Yeah.
Up until yesterday, I have spent an hour driving her to dance 5 to 6 days a week for the last 5 years.
Oh my God.
So I have a lot of
time. Super mom.
Well, yeah, but it's a half hour every day.
Of course.
Like, that's when I started getting into podcasts because it's like, okay, I've got to like learn something with this time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And did you feel when you started Yoga is Vegan, you just started with the website, right? And just like getting people to write or like do like a blog?
Yeah. Yeah, it initially started January of, I think it was 2018. So I started out with the new year, and what I did was, because I had so many Dharma yoga friends, that's one thing that's really nice. I think it's probably the same with Jiva Mukti, but everybody in the Dharma community is very helpful to everybody else.
Absolutely, yeah, we're a family. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it's this incredible, massive family as Jiva Mukti is.
And it should be like that, like yoga connects us.
But it's not always.
Nope. Yeah.
So it can be problematic. So what I did was I had the idea, and I think I started with like 5 or 6 people, and they were all kind enough to write about ahimsa. And this, at first we started ahimsa and like, what is your yoga vegan journey?
Yeah.
And I just put the site together, and then the plan was that I would, roll it out on Instagram and Facebook too. Now I'm on Twitter a little bit, but so I just started like that, and it was easy. And then I'd get people to send it. Like the hardest part about the project has always been the images,
right?
Because you need nice images to put on a website, to put on your Instagram, and they also have to be large enough to support all the different platforms. And so communicating what a high resolution photo to some people is really challenging. I have like a little, link on the website.
This is a high resolution photo. It looks like this.
But it's not. But I think that's been the hardest part. And sometimes editing, because the goal's been to have everyone globally.
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sometimes the translation can get a little funky. So
right.
I'll have to edit a little bit if it's really off. But
and do you feel like so you did all this, you started the blogs and all that and the website, and do you feel like it then organically evolved to start doing podcasts, or did you always have podcasting in mind as well?
I loved podcasts, and my husband started doing them. If it wasn't for my husband, I probably wouldn't do them. And so he started 2 different podcasts. He's a ghost producer on one podcast, and then he has another one that he does from time to time. And he had all this equipment, and I wanted to do it. I was like, can you just show me how to do it? And it's kind of funny because now he looks at me like he was doing it, but then he wasn't on it as much. And now I don't know, I think I've tripled the amount of episodes
he's got. Wife took over.
Yeah. All right, I'm sitting at your desk right now, but at some point I'm taking this equipment from you.
Yeah.
But that's how he just kind of showed it to me. And then I was speaking at a veg fest, and it was the first time I was speaking.
So cool.
And that's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking the first time was really scary. And I thought, well, that would be a great time to just start the podcast. Like that was just what I needed to give me the confidence to do it. And my first episode is me kind of sort of rehearsing what I'm going to talk about. And speak at Veg Fest. And it took me 3 or 4 times to record it and, think, well, how stupid do I sound? My goal was not to sound like a complete moron. And so, I finally was like, okay, I can live with this episode. And I found after, getting my, just toes in the water and feeling a little comfortable about the whole thing, that I really started to enjoy it. And now I love it. I love it so much because I don't, just like yoga, I think it's kind of similar. You can be a perfectionist about things. Or you can kind of allow your true nature just to come forward.
Exactly, to shine through. Let
it go. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if you misspeak. The world will still spin.
The world's not going to stop because you said something different or wrong or whatever.
Right. It's that's kind of how it all came together. But I think the podcast element was really a second birth to this project. And now it's pretty soon we'll have to start developing. I want to start developing the retreats, and that's going to be step 3.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so that's also the next step that you're looking at then, like doing your. And would you be doing them? Like, are you interested in doing them yourself, or are you gonna have
collaboration? I think collaboration is really the
that's what you do.
key to this project, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I want to be a part of it. Yes, I have something to contribute to it, but I think we're at a time right now where we no longer each have to be superstars. But we could come together as humans and start working together to make life better.
And how do you envision those retreats? Like, how do you see it?
Well, I envision them in warm weather because it's freezing where I am.
So warm weather is one thing, and like we should do a few a year.
So what I'm thinking is that we need obviously the element of yoga. Food is very important. I think kind of educating it, blending the two things that I do, and that's getting a vegan education so that this concept of ahimsa can kind of stick when you start to understand what's happening with farmed animals and what that process is. And when you start reading different books and exposing yourself just to, the hidden element in our world of how food gets onto our plate, then you can start to open up that heart center and find that element of compassion. So it's a blend between, having a daily yoga practice, and maybe for some of them, that's where you connect with people who like to do crazy yoga and, handstand all day long and still eat like maybe raw vegan food. And then there's the element of education, but then there's also the group there, it's more of like a surrender, more of a meditative, more of like opening it up for people who have injuries or need healing. Like yoga is so massive.
It's broad. Yeah, it's very broad.
So is veganism. But of course, I always, my personal feeling is that I think it's beautiful that we have so many options in the vegan world, and that we have the faux meats and the Impossible Burgers and the Beyond Burgers and all of these foods and the ice creams, which are amazing. But I also love to share that element of health and healing, which I think comes through both the angle of yoga, right? And the element of nutrition, but